we talked about Carmelo Anthony and how he had this, I guess it was an Instagram chat or some type of chat with Dwayne Wade. And they were just talking, and they were, of course, both in the 2003 draft. The Detroit Pistons, who had the second pick right after Cleveland picks LeBron, they shocked a lot of people and took Darko Milicic. And then Denver at number 3 takes Carmelo Anthony. Well, Dwayne Wade said to Melo, who Wade was 5th in that draft by Miami, Chris Bosh was 4th. He said to Melo, here it is.
I don't know what I would have been if I would have went to Detroit. I know I'd have had maybe 2 or 3 rings.
Two. Definitely had.
You know what I'm saying? But I don't know how everything else would have played out after that throughout my career. So
we talked about that yesterday, Rob. You weren't sure he'd have any rings with Detroit. I gave him one, not 2004, because I think their defense was that was critical to them winning that championship over the Lakers. But I think in the next few years, when they kept getting to the conference finals, they would have found a way to get over the hump. And mainly, I give Chauncey Billups a lot of credit because he was the type of point guard that Melo needed to kind of keep him, in the team game. And he was a superstar, but I think Billups would have been great with him.
But my only issue was that Larry Brown and the defense that team was playing. I don't believe Melo would have been ready for that. Not at that time.
He would have. I could see him. I could envision him with a role off the bench. Now scoring, but maybe 15, 16 points off the bench that first year. Could he have accepted that? That's the question. But either way, we'll never know. But what I want to do, Rob, is play off of that. And I want to ask you this, because Melo, I think, is a first ballot Hall of Famer. You give it to him grudgingly, kind of a backhanded compliment. Like, well,
no, that college run was unbelievable at Syracuse. Anybody who can win Jim Boeheim a championship is a Hall of Famer.
And he did as a freshman.
No, I know.
But hold on. Now, this doesn't say much because we dominate the Olympics. But Olympics, he get 3 gold medals.
Stop. You count
I'm just saying.
Against nobody. Against me, you, and Alex.
Hey, don't disrespect Serbia and Spain and all that.
Yeah, okay.
And then also, let's not belittle his NBA career. And I'm going to say it, Rob. I'm going to say it. I love Bernard King. But everybody raves about Bernard King. Who had a better career? Melo.
Well, Bernard had a major injury that derailed his career. Let's be honest. Agreed, but still, people rave about him almost as if he didn't get hurt. But here's the other thing, though. With Melo, there's something out there, whether it's his fault or not, that he's not a winner. That's out there, Chris. No matter what points he put up, no matter all the other numbers he has, and even on bad teams, somebody has to score the points. I'm not knocking his ability. I told you, his run through the NCAA with Syracuse was one of the greatest things I ever saw.
But when you only talk about that, you do knock his ability. You act like that's all he ever did. And you're right, this loser tag follows him. But here's what I'd say, Rob. And you're right, on a bad team, somebody's going to score. His teams weren't bad for the most part. They weren't great. But he was always getting to the playoffs. Now they lost, okay. Tracy McGrady never won a playoff round. You can't say that about Melo. He went to the second round with the Knicks. He went to the Western Conference Finals with Chauncey and Denver, and they played the Lakers tough.
Yeah, but your question is, does Tracy McGrady belong in the Hall of Fame? I mean, you just said it.
But Chris Mullin.
I'm telling you, I wouldn't have voted for Tracy McGrady.
Vince Carter. I'm just saying there are a lot. Dominique didn't go past the second round in the playoffs. Maybe I got to check it. Maybe Neek got to the conference finals.
They went to the Eastern Conference Final once against Boston.
Did he get there once?
I thought they did, Chris.
You're talking about the feud between the great game between Neek and Larry Bird.
Yes, was that a second round? I'm not
sure if that was a second. I'm going to check it out.
That's the one I always think
that might have been the second round.
Okay, that's fair.
But I'm just saying, like, I think, and I agree. Look, he's not in the class of, the LeBrons and the Wades and the guys that put up the numbers and won. But I just think this notion that he's not a clear Hall of Famer, that's what I just can't get with. But here's what I want to ask you, Rob. Who is the best? Because Melo is on this list of all-time great players to never win a championship. Who do you think is the best NBA player ever who never won a championship? And for the record, I'm looking it up. Yeah, Neek never got to the conference finals. That great feud, that great series with Bird was a 7-game. Now, that's tough. They took Boston to 7, but they lost in the second round. But anyway, who do you think is the best player ever to not win a championship?
Steph Curry. Oh, I'm sorry.
You are.
I was saying a real championship.
Apologize.
Sorry about that.
Stop
a real championship without Kevin Durant.
Why are you always hating on brothers?
I'm sorry.
Seriously. He won before Kevin Durant got there. And winning it with Durant, there's no shame in that.
Okay.
Russell Westbrook couldn't do that.
Obviously, what is always at the top of my mind and is Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
And a runner-up would be Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing was
you would have Ewing.
I'm just saying in the conversation. I'm not. Charles Barkley had a better career. That's all. I'm just saying Ewing was a really good player.
Ewing was great. Again, an easy Hall of Famer. But I think there are several players on that list that I would put ahead of Ewing. And Barkley is one of them. Now, look, personally, I like Barkley better than Karl Malone. I like his style. I like his game. I like his personality. Not that I didn't like Karl's, but I just was drawn more to Charles. I mean, everybody loves Charles. So he's just more of a character, more of a colorful personality than Malone. And I think maybe at their peaks, maybe you could argue Barkley was better. But I just got to be honest, when I look at Karl Malone and the numbers, obviously, he's second all time in points. Obviously, he's the only player in the top 10 of points scored who never won a championship. He's 7th all time in most rebounds. That's the highest rank of any player to never win a championship. Every single year of his career, Rob, he made the playoffs. And when they got to the finals, and you hear this when people try to take away from Jordan, and they say, well, Jordan didn't beat super teams. And they, I've even said that, erroneously, that he didn't beat super teams. But Utah beat a super team to get to Jordan, and then Jordan took care of them. Remember Barkley, Drexler, Olajuwon? That was a super team. I mean, we can say now in hindsight, well, they were toward the end. Look at their years. Look at Barkley's season before he went to Houston. He had a great individual season. So I mean, there were great teams in that era. And Utah beat that Houston team. Utah beat Duncan and David Robinson in Duncan's rookie year. And you say, oh, he was a rookie. He was doing work. Duncan was 21-9 as a rookie. And Robinson was still a great player. He was averaging 19 points and like 11 rebounds that year. And Malone and Stockton and Utah beat them. So that was a great team. Barkley missed the playoffs a couple years in his prime. And in Philadelphia, I think maybe one in Phoenix before he went to Houston. So I got to, even though I like Barkley better, I've got to say Karl Malone, Rob, is the best player never to win a championship.
Okay. I want to hear what other people say, because there's some other people out there, some great players who didn't win as well. So
Elgin Baylor.
Yeah.
John Stockton, Allen Iverson. I think you can, our colleague Nick Wright, our buddy, who he says is the best. He just says it like it's matter of fact, like it's undebatable. James Harden. And I like Harden.
Right.
But am I ready to put him ahead of all these guys? You know what I mean?
Not yet.
Right.
No.
And Malone was a defender. Malone was 4-time all defense.
No, Karl Malone was the real deal, and anybody who doesn't think so is crazy. He was the real deal. And if it wasn't for the Jordan era, he would have won a championship or two.
No question. No question. Now, I want to throw this at you quickly because I've done it. We talked somewhat about this before. We always talk about rings. I'm going to ask you, Robert Horry's got 7 and hit some huge shots. He's known as a clutch player. Steve Kerr has 5, hit big shots. Would you rather be one of them, whichever one you prefer, or one of these greats, Barkley, Ewing, Baylor, Stockton, Malone, who never won, Iverson, who never won a championship?
I'd rather be a superstar that didn't win a championship.
I agree. I totally agree.
I just, as role players and whatnot, and John Sally has 6 rings, right? Doesn't he have 6?
Hey, he's got a lot. I don't know if it's 6.
I thought I know he won 2 with the Pistons, maybe 5, and 3 with the Bulls. I mean, I don't
know if he got 3 he won 4. He won 4.
Is that the number? You got it?
Yep.
For sure?
4.
Okay. I know he's got a lot.
2 with the Pistons, and as you said, 1 with the Bulls, and I think 1 with the Lakers.
Yeah. So I'd rather be a star player. Everybody can't win. There's going to be players like that. So, no, I want to be a star player my whole life, my whole career. And at least people knew I fought and tried to win one, and it just didn't happen.
Right. I totally agree. You want to maximize your individual ability. There's no question about it. And if you can be a star, you want to be a star. And you let the chips fall where they may, right? I battled Jordan. I just came up short, but I was able to maximize my individual ability. Now, if I only have the ability of a role player, right, then I'm happy to get in where I fit in. If I can't go somewhere and score 25 points a game and lead a team deep into the playoffs, then, yeah, I'll play my role.
But here's the kicker. When you talk about Steve Kerr and John Sally and people – They don't count their rings, Chris. They don't. I mean, that's not like, oh yeah, John Sally has 4 rings. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's not the conversation when it comes to John Sally.
It's not even a part of the conversation.
It's not.
Yep. And I think every one of those players, without knowing for a fact, every one of those players, I believe, would say they would rather have been the superstar that doesn't win a ring. I fully believe that, Rob. Because they understand. They get it. All right. What do you think? 877-99 on Fox, 877-996-6369. You can answer one of 2 questions. First of all, who is the greatest player in NBA history to never win a ring? Greatest ever to never win a ring. And 2, would you rather be a Robert Horry, a John Sally, a Steve Kerr, one of these guys with multiple rings who was a role player, or would you rather be one of these superstars who never won a championship? Your turn to weigh in, 877-99 on Fox.
Eric in Oregon, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Eric?
Hey, fellas. How you doing this evening?
Great, man. How are you?
How are you?
You from Salt Lake City. I know where you're going.
No, I'm from Oregon, man. I grew up in...
Oh. Why did I think Salt Lake City? Okay, my bad.
No, you're good. You're good. All right, so you guys got some good names here. I mean, it's hard to argue against Karl Malone stats-wise, and I love me some Iverson. But somebody I want to throw in the mix here is Steve Nash.
Back-to-back MVPs.
Yeah,
man.
And you know what?
Let me read some impressive stats real quick.
All right.
Five times he led the league in assists. That's pretty impressive. He's one of the only career 40, 50, 90 guys. He's a career 43% three-shooter. I mean, back-to-back MVPs, 8-time All-Star, number 3 all-time in assists. I mean, the guy was a monster.
And you know what? That Phoenix team was really good for a long time. They never won.
Yeah.
Super good.
I'm going to also say, off the top of my head, he's got to be the only player to win 2 MVP awards but never a championship.
He is. I looked it up.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I wouldn't go with him, but that's not a bad answer.
That's a very good answer.
Yes.
Devin in Delaware, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Devin?
Hey, man, big-time listener, man. Hey, just want to let y'all know, I really think that I got 2 of them for y'all. One is a personal favorite, and Reggie Miller, And then another one is just for the flair of the millennials and what they grew up on, and I'd say Vince Carter.
No, wow. You know what? Hey, Devin, first of all, Reggie Miller's a good one. Reggie Miller's a Hall of Famer. Had a lot of good teams in Indiana. They met.
They took the Bulls 7.
Right, the Bulls in the finals. I remember that. Yep. I covered that.
Eastern Conference Finals.
Absolutely. But those are good, Devin.
Reggie Miller is one of the most clutch players. He's got to be one of the top, 5, Rob? Probably clutch players in NBA history?
If I need a big shot made, he's in the mix on who I'm going to give the ball to. And I told you that famous Knick playoff game, I covered that game, Chris, and was sitting underneath the basket. And I saw everything up close. That was one of the most shocking things I'd ever seen in covering sports, and Madison Square Garden went silent. It was unbelievable.
That's when he scored 8 points in 18 seconds, right?
Yeah, and
I saw of a playoff game. Yep.
When he pushed Greg Anthony down. Yep. I watched it. It was right in front of me, Chris.
Well, here's the thing, too, Rob. As great as Reggie was, imagine how much better he'd be in today's game because of the 3.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was an all-time great shooter. That's a good answer. I wouldn't put those guys close to the top, but they're good answers.
Yep. Let's go to Marty in Kentucky. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Marty?
How's it going, fellas?
What's up, man?
And Devin stole my thunder, but I'm riding with the same name. Reggie Miller has always stood out to me. All these things get brought up from the Jordan era, and Reggie is the only one in those 6 championships that took him 7 that was a star player on the team. And also, Reggie was in the same division. And when he first got to the league, he had the bad boy Pistons and Jordan, and then he had to get through Jordan. And then after the Bulls' reign was over, when he finally gets to the finals, he's got Shaq, Kobe, Phil Jackson, and the Lakers. He had to beat a lot of great competition, and he just come up short. And he had that drive and that will to win, and he was a great shooter. And I really think that he's underrated because he was in the shadow of Jordan and the Detroit Pistons in that division.
You know what?
That's a really good answer. You backed it up too,
Marty. Spot on. You're right. When you think about what he had to do to try to get there and the fight, Reggie Miller, and he was a baller, Chris. No doubt about it.
Reggie was interesting because he obviously was a scorer, but never averaged. Only averaged 24 or more one time, and was a good defender. Didn't get a lot of accolades, but he was a good defender. Didn't rebound or assist much, but he obviously had a great impact on his team. I think he had more of an impact on his team than the numbers suggest. Because as Marty said, they were a great team. They just kept running into better squads.
And Reggie, a skinny guy, especially as a player, he was skinny.
Right.
And to be able to survive in that with those players that he's talking about, that's incredible. Seriously.
Nah, he was tough.
It was way more physical. Mark in Sacramento, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio.
What's going on, gentlemen?
What's up, man? How are you?
Pretty good. You know what? There's a lot of errors where guys were great, but I'm an older guy. I think it's Elgin Baylor. And real quick, I'll throw a couple things at you. That guy was a 10-time All-NBA. That guy averaged 30 points more than 3 times, 23,000 in his career. And he played in the era where one guy had 11 rings, one guy is the logo. The other guy, he averaged a triple-double and was considered the best all-around player. And the other guy, they should name the NBA record book after. So, and he retired the year the Lakers won. So that was bad. I'd say it's Elgin.
Elgin is a great. Elgin could be number 2 on my list. Elgin was phenomenal, and it is unfortunate. And they got to 7 finals?
Yeah,
I think he got to 7.
For the Lakers, when you consider their history. Early on, they were losers. I mean, they got there. Right. Remember, it wasn't that many teams, but they got there because even Jerry West was 1-8 in NBA Finals. When you think about
exactly.
I mean, look at the numbers.
They won. They won one in the 70s with Wilt. That's like you said, the year Elgin retired. But you're right, Rob. Then they started winning when Magic got there, and that's why Magic is largely viewed as the greatest Laker. Obviously, Kobe can challenge him on that, but because they didn't, as great as the Lakers were, they didn't win. They couldn't close the door and finish the deal.
No, they couldn't.
Yeah.
Do we have time to squeeze one more in?
We can go one more.
Andre in Massachusetts, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. Listen, the answer for this, to me, is rather simple. It's John Stockton. Man is the NBA's all-time leader in assists. Almost 5,000 assists more than Jason Kidd. NBA's all-time leader in steals. Almost 1,000 steals more than CP3, I believe. And the man played 16 years without missing a game. Gets disrespected. Happy birthday, John Stockton. Birthday was March 26th. He's disrespected in our greatest of all-time point guard conversation.